Flex Skillet. This is Mr. Mad Mick 15. I ought to make a video today on the Patriot Bandage. This is an idea I came up with. I was talking with a author, and me and him was discussing the plots of some books he was thinking about writing and getting ideas about character development and situations. And I was in the whole Red Dawn, taken to the mountains, being resistance fighters mindset, because that was kind of what the book was involving. And I got to thinking, as far as their medical needs, if you was in a situation like that where you're fighting off the UN or the Cubans or whoever the opponent is in the book, supplies would be limited. So the availability of the ever popular Israeli dressing, battle dressing, would not be available to resistance fighters. So I came up with what I have labeled the Patriot Bandage. And basically the Patriot Bandage involves really two main parts, and that's a bed sheet and a maxi pad. Yes, a maxi pad. Maxi pads. They are, well, they're not sterile, but they're pretty clean. And they come in these little salt packs that you can tear open. But the thing about the maxi pad is I can buy a box of 54 at Walmart for like, I think it was like 11 bucks. Sam's, 11 bucks. I think it's Walmart or Sam's, potato. It was like 11 bucks for this box. And this is the extra heavy overnights. I don't know. It's also the naval aviator version, because it does say it has wings. So you may want to get that. But basically, it just has two parts: a bed sheet and a maxi pad. And the trick to the whole thing is this little loop right here. As if you know, on an Israeli bandage, you have a plastic clip here that you bring it through and then cinch it back around. Well, this loop takes the place of that plastic, and it's something that your Patriot supporters could be making at night to help the resistance fighters or whatever. It's just a quick, handy little bandage. Is it better than the Israeli? No. Is it a something that everyone should have instead of good medical equipment? No. This is something that I thought up that I thought would work in a pinch. It works pretty good, but it's not. But it is just a MacGyver substitute for items that you should have, and everyone should have a bunch of Israeli battle dressings. So let me go into it and I'll show you kind of how I put this one together. All right, let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how I made the Patriot Bandage. I started with one of these. It is just a maxi pad, and I got the biggest one I could find, most absorbent, I guess you might say. Anyway, I started with a pad and undid the wings. I always got to keep a hand on it where it don't fly away, because it does have wings. I cut these wing stuff off. What I was doing is just kind of trimming all this up, and if you'll notice, it's not all that neat, because it really doesn't have to be. People always ask about, especially in bandages and stuff, they always ask, well, is it sterile? Is it sterile? Is it sterile? And my reply to that is no, it really doesn't need to be. Worrying about infections is really your aftercare. If someone's bleeding out, depending on where they're bleeding from, you've got a matter of minutes to get that blood stopped, or these people are going to die. Any of you ever seen the movie Lone Survivor? How in the movie they actually, those Navy SEALs in that actually threw dirt right in the wound. And I'm not an expert, but I would almost tell you that the dirt in Afghanistan is not sterile. Sterile is an aftercare problem. But anyway, what I did is I went about a good heavy hand's width, and there's none of this really rocket science. I just cut it like that, and I cut it. I place this on here like that, and then I know about where to cut this. And I double stacked it. And then set that aside, and I took just an old bed sheet. Just an old bed sheet. And I cut a good heavy hand's width all the way the length down the whole sheet. And this is the final product. This is the Patriot Bandage. What I did with this is I actually wrapped this up in an old, I don't mean an old rag and an old oily rag, but a rag, just a rag, and I sewed basically a square, and that's it. Then I just attached it to the strip of bed sheet. And just like on the Israeli bandage, where on the Israeli bandage you have a plastic clip that thing hooks back into and cinches down, I didn't have that. So what I did is basically put just a knot in it, just a little loop knot. I just come in here and brought some material up and just put in an overhand loop on it, just as that. And of course on this model I have stitched it to where it is more open and you don't have to hunt for where the open is. But the trick to the whole bandage and the way the bandage works so well is when you loop it around and you bring it back through, you're actually cinching down right over the wound, which puts direct pressure right on where the wound is, just like the Israeli dressing does. And then you just keep wrapping and tuck it back under, and you have the Patriot Bandage. You can use something besides a maxi pad in the center. I just use that because, you know, the availability of it. But you could use like a wadded up bandana. You could use Bounty, the quicker picker upper. You could use multiple layers of paper towels in the middle of it. You could use cotton, just regular cotton balls, cotton pads, stuffing out of a pillow. You could even use the sheet. You could use part of a shamag. You can use anything to absorb the blood that's being lost, because really the trick to the whole Patriot Bandage is just this little loop right here. But the way I did the loop is just went from where the padding stops, and I just put in about a good hand's width, and that's where I wanted the knot, was about a hand width away. So I did it. I didn't do it by measurements. I did it by hand because when I arch and craft stuff, that's just how I do it. I measure with my hands. But anyway, that there is the Patriot Bandage. You could even, if you wanted to, now I broke the seal on this, but I did have this vacuum sealed in a food saver. This is another one, and you could package it about like the Israeli bandages come, and it'd be waterproof and vacuum sealed and all that. And you could put duct tape across the top here to where you could grab it one-handed with your teeth and rip the whole top out of it to get it open. Okay, this is kind of how you apply it. I would hold direct pressure on it. I would wrap it around the wound. Bring it through the loop and back up. And you see I've cinched it. And just keep wrapping it. And I can make this so tight, it would actually work as a tourniquet because of the cinch, the little loop knot in there. The loop's what makes all the difference in that, because it's put direct pressure right down on the wound. Thanks for watching.